If you spend any time online looking up how to fix your lawn, you have run into this one already. 1 spoon of borax, that old white box of laundry boosters sitting on a shelf in your garage. Supposedly you mix it into some water, spray it across your grass, and just like that the crabgrass and the clover are gone. Not for the summer. Forever. I have had folks send me that video probably 100 times now, usually with a little note that says, "Larry, is this actually real?" So today let's walk through it together. Because there is a small piece of truth hiding in that borax trick, and I will show you exactly what it is. But if you head out this weekend and do what those clips tell you, there is a real chance you scorch a bare, dead patch into your yard that you end up staring at for 2 or 3 years. So before you touch that box of borax, let me show you what it actually does. What it flat out cannot do no matter what the thumbnail promises, and the honest, simple way to clear out both clover and crabgrass for good. Stick with me, because the real fix is easier than the hack, and a whole lot safer. Let's start with where this whole idea even came from, because it did not come out of thin air. A while back, some university researchers up in Iowa were studying a weed called ground ivy. You might know it better as creeping Charlie. It's that low, sprawling little vine with the round, scalloped leaves and the tiny bluish-purple flowers. The stuff that creeps across shady spots under trees and along fence lines and just refuses to quit. Pull it and it comes back. Mow it and it laughs at you. So these researchers tried treating it with borax, and what they found was interesting. Borax, mixed carefully and applied carefully, could knock back creeping Charlie without wiping out the surrounding lawn. And that is a real finding. I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's fake, because it isn't. But look closely at what actually got tested. It was creeping Charlie, one specific vining weed in one specific situation. It was not crabgrass. And it was not clover either. Somewhere along the way, that careful little study got picked up, stripped of every warning that came with it, and turned into a viral video promising a single spoonful of laundry powder would erase every weed in your yard permanently. That is a very long way from what the science actually said. So why does borax kill any weed at all? Here's the thing you have to understand. And once you get this, the whole trick makes sense, and so does the danger. Borax contains an element called boron. Now, boron is not a poison in the way you might think. It's actually a nutrient. Your grass, your flowers, your trees, they all need a tiny bit of boron to grow properly, the same way they need a little iron. The catch is that word, tiny. The gap between the amount of boron a plant needs to be healthy and the amount that starts to poison it is incredibly small. Think about how a little bit of salt makes your food taste good, but a whole handful ruins it. Boron is like that, except the line is even thinner. So when you spray a concentrated dose of borax onto a plant, you're not feeding it. You blow straight past helpful and into toxic in one shot. That's the mechanism. You're overdosing the weed on a nutrient. And the reason it can spare your lawn is that grasses tend to shrug off extra boron better than broadleaf plants do. Creeping Charlie is sensitive to it. Your fescue or your bluegrass is a little tougher. That single difference in tolerance is the entire trick, and I need you to hold on to it, because it's about to tell you exactly why the crabgrass claim is nonsense. Now hold on, because this is where that viral title completely falls apart. Go back to what I told you a minute ago. Borax works on broadleaf weeds because grasses tolerate the boron better. So let me ask you the obvious question. What is crabgrass? Crabgrass is a grass. That's not a cute nickname. That is literally what it is. A coarse, low, sprawling, grassy weed that fans out flat like a crab's legs across your driveway edges and thin spots. And because it's a grass, it is built almost the same way the good grass in your lawn is built. So the one quality that makes borax sort of safe for your lawn, the fact that grasses brush off extra boron, is the exact same quality that makes it useless against crabgrass. You could pour the stuff on that crabgrass all afternoon, and long before the crabgrass ever gives up, the good lawn around it is turning yellow and dying. The claim that a spoon of borax kills crabgrass isn't just exaggerated, it's backwards. You're asking the one tool that spares grass to go kill a grass. It cannot do the very job it's famous for. So right there, half the promise in that title is dead on arrival. You know, I think the real reason so many good folks reach for a laundry powder hack in the first place is that nobody ever handed them a simple, clear plan. You've got Clover creeping across the backyard, crabgrass popping up along the driveway and the sidewalk cracks, and every single video online tells you something different. So a one-spoon miracle starts to sound pretty good. That's exactly why I put together Larry's 30-day weed kill protocol. It's the plain, day-by-day system I follow myself in my own yard. No guesswork, no kitchen cabinet gambles, no burning holes in your lawn. It shows you how to identify the 7 most common lawn weeds, including the clover and crabgrass we're talking about today, so you actually know what you're looking at. It tells you which product to reach for and, just as important, the exact day to put it down so it does what it's supposed to. It walks you through pre-emergent timing so weeds never sprout, how to spot treat the stubborn stuff that slips through, and a full season calendar so the whole mess doesn't come marching back next spring. And it's written the same way I talk to you right here, friendly and simple. No fluff, just the plan. If you are tired of fighting the same weeds every single year, this is the shortcut, and it's the honest kind that won't wreck your soil. You'll find the link waiting for you down in the description, and that little code up on your screen right now will take you straight there. Go ahead and grab it whenever you're ready. Take your time. It has saved a lot of folks a lot of wasted weekends and a lot of wasted money. Now, before we go any further, let me answer a question I know some of you are sitting there thinking. If borax is really this unreliable, why do so many people swear up and down that it worked for them? And that's a fair question, because they're not all lying. Here's what usually happens. Somebody sprays borax over a patch of clover. A week later, some of that clover looks rough, yellow, wilted. Maybe half of it dies back. To your eye, that's a win. The trick worked, so you tell your neighbor, you leave a comment, you share the video. But then a few weeks pass, the boron settles, and the clover creeps right back in from the roots and the seeds you never touched. By then, nobody's filming a follow-up. The internet is full of the before shot and almost none of the after shot. On top of that, there's a little voice in all of us that says, well, it's just borax, it's natural, it's from the laundry aisle, so it must be gentle and safe. And I get why that feels true. But natural doesn't mean harmless. Plenty of things that come out of the ground will burn your lawn or hurt your soil if you use them wrong. Borax is one of them. So the fact that it's cheap and sitting in your cabinet does not make it a smart choice for your grass. It just makes it an easy mistake to reach for. Now that's the crabgrass and clover side of the promise handled. But there's still one word left in that title we haven't dealt with yet. Forever. And honestly, that one bothers me even more than the crabgrass claim, and here's why. When you spray a normal, properly made weed killer, it does its job, and then it breaks down in the soil over the following weeks. It runs its course, and it's gone. Boron does not do that. Boron just sits there. It works its way down through your soil slowly, and it can hang around for years before it finally leaches out. So there is no magic permanent kill happening on your weeds. What you actually get is a temporary knockdown on whatever plants were sensitive to it, while a load of boron builds up quietly in your dirt underneath. And remember that razor-thin line between a healthy dose and a toxic one. That slow buildup is exactly what makes it dangerous. Every time you reapply, you're stacking more boron into soil that has nowhere to put it. So the videos have it exactly upside down. The one thing that really can last a long time here isn't the weed control. It's the damage. Let me paint you the picture of what that damage actually looks like, because I've walked plenty of yards and seen it firsthand. Say you grab a watering can, dump in a big scoop of borax, and start pouring it across a patch of clover. Nice and generous. The second you slow your walk down, or you double back over a spot you already hit, or the ground dips a little, and the liquid pools in a low spot. That patch just got 2 or 3 times the dose you meant to give it. That's a hot spot. And a week or two later, you don't have a green lawn with a clover problem anymore. You've got a green lawn with a dead yellow scar burned right through the middle of it. And here's the cruel part, the part that really gets people. Because that boron is now sitting in the soil, you can't just rake it out, throw down some seed, and move on. New grass seed struggles to take root in soil that's loaded with boron, so the patch stays bare. Week after week, you took a small, honestly manageable clover problem and turned it into a big patch of bare dirt that fights you every time you try to fix it. And the repair takes seasons, not days. Trust me on this one. That is not a trade worth making, not even close. All right, so after all that, some of you are still thinking, okay, Larry, but is there ever a time you would actually use borax? And I'll be straight with you, because I always will be. There is one narrow case. If you have Creeping Charlie, that specific vine with the round scalloped leaves and the little purple flowers, and only that, borax can work as a spot treatment. But you have to respect the dose, or you'll do more harm than good. The figure the university folks landed on was roughly 5 teaspoons of borax dissolved in a quart of warm water, sprayed evenly over about 25 square feet of the affected area. And I want you to catch the trap hiding in that instruction, because it's the opposite of what your gut tells you. If you spray that same amount of mix over a smaller patch, you are not being extra thorough. You are concentrating the boron and burning your grass. More is not better here. More is a dead spot. So you use a pump sprayer for a light, even mist. Never a watering can that dumps it in heavy pours. You keep it far away from your vegetable garden and your flower beds, because it will absolutely destroy those. You do it once and only once. And if your lawn so much as starts to yellow afterward, you stop right there and water the area deeply to flush that boron down and away from the roots. That's the honest version of the borax trick. Narrow, careful, one weed, one time. And frankly, for most people, it isn't worth the risk, because there are cleaner, more reliable ways to win. So let's get into those. And while we're talking about kitchen cabinet remedies, let me quickly save you from the other two you'll see going around, because folks ask me about these constantly. Vinegar is the big one. You'll see videos swearing that household vinegar kills weeds. And here's the honest truth of it. The vinegar sitting in your kitchen is only about 5% acetic acid, and all it really does is burn the tops off young, tender weeds. The green part shrivels up and looks dead, but the root is still alive and well down in the soil, so the weed just grows right back in a couple of weeks. On top of that, vinegar doesn't know the difference between a weed and your good grass, so wherever it lands, it burns. Then there's the salt trick. Please do not pour salt or salt water on your lawn. Salt absolutely will kill weeds, but it does the very same thing boron does, only worse. It poisons the soil, it lingers, and it can leave you with a bare, sterile strip where nothing green will grow for a very long time. Great for a gravel path you never want anything growing on. Terrible for a lawn you're trying to save. So the pattern here gets pretty clear once you can see it. The cheap natural-sounding hacks either don't really work, or they work by quietly wrecking your soil. Either way, they end up costing you more than they ever save. We'll start with the clover, because there's something about clover that will change how you see it forever. Clover isn't really some enemy that invaded your lawn out of nowhere. Clover is a signal. It shows up when your soil is running low on nitrogen, and it doesn't just tolerate that, it thrives in it. Because clover has a neat trick of its own. It pulls nitrogen right out of the air and makes its own food. Your grass can't do that. So in a hungry, underfed lawn, the clover has a built-in advantage, and it simply outcompetes the grass. Which means the real fix isn't poison, it's food. When you feed your lawn properly on a regular schedule and get that nitrogen level back up where it should be, you flip the entire game around. Now your grass finally has what it needs to grow thick and aggressive, and the clover loses the one edge it had. A good chunk of it will fade out on its own just from that. For the patches that hang on stubborn after you've fed the lawn, that's when you reach for a real broadleaf weed killer, the kind that's actually made and labeled for use on lawns. It's designed to kill the clover down through the root while leaving your grass standing, which, if you've been paying attention, is exactly the job everybody wanted borax to do, and it never really could. One more tip that most people miss. The best time to hit broadleaf weeds like clover with a herbicide is often in the fall, when the plants are pulling energy down into their roots for winter, and they carry that weed killer right down with it. So the order is simple. Feed the lawn first, then spot treat whatever's left, ideally in the fall. That's the sequence that actually works. Now crabgrass, that's a completely different animal. And this is where most folks lose the fight before they even start. Remember, crabgrass is a grass, so a broadleaf clover killer won't touch it, and borax won't either. But crabgrass has one big glaring weakness, and once you understand it, you've basically won. Crabgrass is an annual. That means every single crabgrass plant you see out there dies off on its own when the cold weather arrives. It does not survive the winter. But before it dies, it drops thousands of seeds into your soil, and every spring a brand new crop sprouts up from those seeds. So here's the good news hiding in that. You don't have to fight a tough, established plant. You just have to stop those seeds from ever sprouting in the first place. And that's exactly what a pre-emergent does. You put it down in early spring, before the soil warms up and wakes those seeds, and it forms an invisible barrier in the top layer of soil that stops the crabgrass cold before it ever breaks through. Timing is everything with this, and here's a simple way to nail it without fussing over a soil thermometer. Crabgrass seeds tend to wake up once the soil holds around 55 degrees for a stretch, and nature gives you a free reminder. Watch the forsythia bushes, those bright yellow flowering shrubs you see blooming early all over town. When the forsythia lights up yellow, that's your window to get the pre-emergent down. In a lot of areas, you'll actually want to split it into 2 applications, several weeks apart, to cover the whole sprouting season. Now, if you miss that window and the crabgrass is already up and spreading, don't panic. You can still knock it down with a crabgrass-specific post-emergent through the summer. It works. It's just a lot more effort and expense than simply stopping it in the spring. So with crabgrass, prevention truly beats the cure every time. Before I give you the one fix that beats both of these weeds for good, let me quickly cover the mistakes that quietly make your weed problem worse, because a lot of you are doing at least one of these without realizing it. The first big one is mowing too short. When you scalp your lawn down tight trying to buy yourself an extra day before the next mow, you expose the soil to sunlight, and sunlight on bare soil is a wide-open invitation for crabgrass and clover seeds to sprout. The second mistake is watering wrong. Little sips every single day. That trains your grass to grow shallow, lazy roots near the surface, right where the weeds live, instead of deep, strong roots that can outlast a dry spell. And the third one, and this might be the most common of all, is chasing the symptom while completely ignoring the soil underneath. Folks spray and spray and spray the weeds, but never once feed the lawn or check what the soil actually needs, so the weeds just keep marching right back, because the conditions that invited them in the first place never changed one bit. If you really want to get ahead of it, spend a few dollars on a simple soil test. You can pick one up at most garden centers or get one through your local extension office, and it will tell you what your soil is short on and whether your pH is out of whack. When your pH drifts too far in one direction, your grass can't even use the fertilizer you're putting down, which leaves the door wide open for weeds to walk right in. That one little test takes the guesswork out of the whole thing. Fix those 3 habits. Feed the soil, and you've already won half the battle before you spray a single thing. Which brings me to the real secret. The one thing that beats clover and crabgrass better than any bottle or box on the shelf. And it doesn't cost you a dime in chemicals. It's a thick lawn. Weeds are opportunists, every last one of them. Clover, crabgrass, creeping Charlie. They all need the same two things to get started. A patch of bare soil and sunlight hitting that dirt. When your grass is thick enough that a weed seed can't find open ground and can't reach the sun, most of those seeds never even sprout. So how do you build a lawn like that? 4 simple habits. First, you mow high. Keep your grass on the taller side so the blades shade the soil and choke out weed seedlings before they ever get going. A good rule of thumb is to never cut off more than 1/3 of the blade in a single mow, and to keep most lawns somewhere around 3 to 3.5 inches tall. Taller grass, fewer weeds. It really is almost that simple. Second, you water deep and less often, a good long soak once or twice a week instead of a daily sprinkle, so your grass grows those long, strong, drought-proof roots. Third, you feed it on a schedule through the season, so it stays dense and green and healthy enough to crowd out the competition. And fourth, once or twice a year you overseed, dropping fresh grass seed to fill in any thin or bare spots before a weed can move in and claim them. For most cool season lawns, the best window for that is early fall, when the soil is still warm from summer but the air has cooled off, which is prime growing weather for young grass and a lousy time for crabgrass to start any trouble. Do those 4 things together and you are no longer out there fighting weeds one at a time, hunched over with a spray bottle every weekend. You've built a lawn that quietly fights them for you. And I promise you, it really is simpler than most people make it out to be. So let me bring this whole thing back around to where we started. That viral video promised you that 1 spoon of borax would kill your crabgrass and your clover forever. And now you know the honest story behind it. Borax has one narrow, careful use against creeping Charlie. And that's it. It will never kill crabgrass. Because crabgrass is a grass, and the whole trick depends on sparing grass. Nothing about it is permanent. The temporary part is the weed knockdown, and the lasting part is the boron sitting in your soil. And used carelessly, it will leave you with dead bare patches you'll be nursing back for years. The real answer was never a single magic spoonful sitting in the laundry aisle. Clover, you starve out by feeding your lawn and cleaning up the stragglers in the fall. Crabgrass, you stop in early spring before it ever sprouts, right about when the forsythia blooms. And both of them you beat for good by growing grass so thick and healthy they've got nowhere left to live. None of that is complicated. It's a simple system, and it's one that anybody watching this can follow starting this weekend. And that whole system, laid out step by step and day by day, is exactly what you'll find in Larry's 30-day weed kill protocol. The right products, the right timing, the fall broadleaf schedule, the spring pre-emergent window, and the full season calendar that keeps clover and crabgrass gone instead of creeping back every year. Right now you can grab it for $17 instead of the usual $47, and one saved weekend of frustration is worth more than that. The link is down in the description, and that code is still there on your screen. Grab it, follow it, and let's get you a lawn the whole street stops to look at. I'll see you in the next one.